This book right here has brought in tens of millions of dollars in sales for my business, and specifically over the last year, it's brought in $7 million in revenue. So in this video, I wanted to break it all down. So what's the process? What's the framework? I call this the $7 million business card. And so I want to walk you through how to launch a book that makes millions, and specifically how to use a book to double your leads, sales, and referrals. So there's 4 things I want to cover in this video. Number 1, how do you come up with a 7-figure book idea? Number 2, how do you write a great book that converts? Number 3, how do you use it to get your first or your next 50 customers? And then number 4, this might be the most powerful one, is the $7 million business card framework. So I'll walk you through how do you use a book to create a 7-figure revenue stream in your business. I'll do a case study on how did we generate that $7 million over the last 12 months. I'll break it all down. You're gonna wanna stay to the end, because if you stay to the end of this video, I'll give you a free copy of this book. Okay, and this book has the full playbook, the process, the everything. You might notice I got books all around me here. We've helped thousands of authors publish over the last decade. We publish about 2 to 5 books a day. So everything I'm covering in this video, it's not theory, it's what I've done, and it's what our authors have done to successfully build businesses using a book. Now, if we haven't met before, my name's Chandler Bolt. I'm from a small town called Walhalla, South Carolina. It's in the middle of nowhere. You've probably never heard of it. I've written 7 books myself, including this book right here, and this book, which is the first book I wrote. I'll tell you about that later. My company, we've helped publish over 7,000 authors in the last decade. The company selfpublishing.com, I've scaled from 0 to over $75 million. In that time period, this helped me land on the Forbes 30 Under 30 list, all that stuff. But I did it despite being a C- English student and a college dropout with ADHD. So if I can do it, I think you got a pretty good shot. Now, how many of you have heard of this guy, Robert Kiyosaki, or this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? When I was 16 years old, my dad handed me this book. It changed my life forever. It introduced me to a couple concepts I now wholeheartedly believe in. The first one is that books change lives. All right, this book changed my life. We believe that books change lives. They change the lives of readers and of authors. But this book also introduced me to this concept of passive income through real estate. I was really excited about this concept. And I realized I'm 16 years old. I don't have $40,000 to put down on a duplex. So I kind of gave up on passive income, put it on the maybe someday list, went off to school to College of Charleston to learn how to run a business. Now, pretty quickly once I got there, I realized I'm learning how to run a business from professors who have never ran businesses. That was the dumbest thing that I ever heard. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? So I decided to drop out. But right before I dropped out, I studied abroad. And while I was studying abroad, I wrote my first book. Now, this is a book about kind of early entrepreneurial pursuits and scaling my first few businesses. And I'll never forget, I was on the chairlift snowboarding in Austria with a friend, and he said, Chandler, I heard that you published this book. I heard that it's doing pretty well. Question for you, is the book making any money? Books don't make money. And I thought about that, and I said, you know what? Actually, yes. While we were snowboarding all day yesterday, the book made $400. Now, that might not be a lot for you, but it was this mind-blowing realization for me of I'm making money while I'm snowboarding. That's fun. But bigger than that, people were buying my book all around the world in countries that I'd never even been to. And this book was changing people's lives. And I didn't know it yet, but that book was going to be what launched and catapulted my business. So to answer his question, did the book make any money? Yeah, it started making a few $1,000s a month. It paid the bills when I dropped out of school. It continues to bring in what I call mailbox money. All right, these are just royalty checks monthly to this day. And what I realized in this process is that a book is the best and the fastest way to grow your impact, your income, and most importantly, your business if you have one. You do work once. You create this book, and then this book goes on to impact a ton of people and brings back leads, sales, and referrals for your business. And we'll talk specifically about how that works later in this video. So I want to start with part number 1 of this training, which is coming up with a 7-figure book idea. Most books, they don't sell well, and they don't really move the needle in your business because people miss this. They miss on the idea, then everything they do after that doesn't really matter. Stephen Covey would say begin with the end in mind. All right, so I want to start with what's the math to actually, for you, to generate 7 figures from this book. Let's start there and then align the idea accordingly. Well, there's kind of 3 paths here to make 7 figures from your book. First off is selling a bunch of books. That's really hard. Unless you're James Clear, or unless you're, maybe Robert Kiyosaki or whoever else. Sure, can you make good money selling books? Well, yeah, if you do it well, if you integrate it in your business, if you implement all the stuff I'm going to talk about, yeah. But chances are, if you're watching this video, you probably have a business or want to start a business. So my first thought is, how do we align that directly to your business? So there's kind of two pieces here. There's the product or service component. So I want you to think about, what's a client worth to you? Is it $2,000? Is it $5,000? Is it 10 grand? Is it 100 grand? All right. So then we can reverse engineer the math from there. So if it's $10,000, well, then you need to use this book to bring in 100 customers. It's that simple. If a customer is worth $100,000 to you, well, that's a really high quality problem or a really high quality opportunity, because you got to get 10 customers from this book. All right. But then let's maybe use the agency model. Maybe you're running some sort of recurring agency. Well, then pretty simple math there. Does a customer pay you $3,000 a month? Well, then you need 28 customers at $3,000 a month, and that's $1 million a year business. So can you use this book to generate 28 customers? Well, of course, I'll walk you through that. And then we got to think about, how do we align this book with your business? This seems obvious, but your book should attract your ideal customer. Okay, so you got to start with, who is my customer? And we've got this framework I'll teach you later called the 4 Ps. So you need to align the book with your business, because if you write some random other book that's totally unrelated to your business, well, it's obviously not going to bring in customers, right? And I want you to answer this question of, what is the first problem that I solve for people? Or what's the thing that gets people to pick up the phone and call me, right? So when people pick up the phone and say, hey, I need your help, what's that thing? Well, let's write the book specific to that. And then that book is going to help bridge you from stranger to buyer, right? The root word of authority is author. You can't spell the word authority without the word author. You become an authority in the mind of your prospects and customers when they find out that you have a book and when you put that book in their hands. So we need to align it with your business. And then that book needs to solve a real problem. This is really, really important. We have this framework, it's called chocolate covered broccoli, which sounds disgusting. But chocolate covered broccoli is essentially says, sell them what they want, give them what they need. Okay, now let's think about this for a second. Let's say, here's a great example. Dr. Jonathan Su, right? Physical therapist, works with folks in pain. Well, if I was Jonathan and I'm working with people on back pain, well, I might know that, hey, they have a problem with their posture. So I might be tempted to write a book on posture. That's broccoli. This is disgusting, right? No one likes it. No one wants it. No one wakes up and says, I need this posture book, right? But there's a lot of people that wake up and say, oh my gosh, I'm in pain. I need help. So if I wrote a book on back pain, that's the chocolate. And then inside of that book, I can still cover similar topics like, hey, your posture sucks. You got a wallet in your back pocket. You're all crooked. This is causing the back pain. Okay, awesome. You know all that stuff. Put it in your book, not as the main hook of your book. So chocolate covered broccoli. All right, and I'll come back to Dr. Jonathan Su here. He wanted to write this book to go from one-to-one to one-to-many. Right, so you kind of, if you want to bring leverage into your business, a book is obviously a really great way to do that. We call it leveraged impact, right? You create leverage with the book. Jonathan didn't write the book on back pain. He said 6-minute fitness at 60. How specific is that? All right, if you think about the real problem that he's solving, it's a specific problem for a specific person. We'll get into that in just a second. But he knows that, hey, these are simple home exercises to reclaim strength, balance, and energy in 15 days. It's pretty dang specific, right? So if I am in this target market, I'm going to instantly understand this book's for me and I need help, because of there's all sorts of chocolate on this book cover, right? And then the broccoli is inside the book. So you need to first pick a painful problem that your audience knows that they have. This is really important. You don't solve the problem that they don't know that they have, because they don't know that they have it, right? So they need to know that they have it, and you need to pick a super painful problem, solve it with the book, and then package it in something that they want to consume with that book. Now, there's a saying that I love. It says the riches are in the niches. So when in doubt, niche down, right? Is it niche? Is it niche? I don't know. But niches for the riches. All right. So if you niche down, well, then that means there's more speed, more trust, and more conversion. So let's pull back up Mr. Jonathan here. It's pretty specific, right? He's automatically excluding a ton of people just with this 60 plus part. Well, guess what? When you speak to a specific group, they feel seen, they feel understood, and most importantly, they know that it's for them, right? So you think, if I niche down, I'm going to exclude all these people, the book's not going to sell. It's actually the opposite. I've seen this time and time again with authors that we work with, is they're in niches that I've never even heard of. Like, we got this one guy that wrote a book for traveling mobile notaries. Okay, I didn't even know this was a thing. I'm thinking, okay, I published the book. This is going to be good, I guess, but I don't really know how much of a market there is. This is super specific. He published it. If you look that book up, it's got over 1,000 reviews on Amazon. It's generated 6 figures in business for him. I mean, it's exploded so much for him, and it's the very, very specific book. All right, so I'm kind of hammering this point home. The riches are in the niches. General books disappear. Niche books get shared. So that's step one. We've come up with a specific book idea. Hopefully you've got some ideas flowing. It's okay if you're not for sure yet. We'll talk about that later. You can chat with my team. We can iron out the details. But we started with that. And now we move into step number 2, which is writing a book that converts. So you need to write like a business owner, not like an author. Now, you don't have to be an English major. I'm a C-level English student and a college dropout, right? So I think the beauty in that, and the beauty if you are a business owner and you do the thing, well, then guess what? You've already written the book. You just didn't know it yet. It's the broken record conversations that you're having over and over and over again with every new prospect or every new customer. If you're tired of repeating yourself, you might feel more like a parrot than a CEO. It's like, I'm just repeating myself all day. Well, great. That's the book. So I want to start with, I kind of teased this framework earlier. It's called the 4 Ps. It's the 4 Ps of a best-selling book. I go in more detail in this book if you want to check out the book. But it's person, pain, promise, and price. Okay, you need to get really specific on this with the book, but then align that with your business. So person, who's the person that you know in your life? This might be a customer who needs this book or needs help with the problem that you're solving. All right, well, write the book specifically to them. All right, and then what's the pain that they have that they know that they have? Remember chocolate-covered broccoli, right? So speak to that pain. What's the promise that you're making with the outcome of the book, right? So you can see my book, for example, The Proven Path from Blank Page to 10,000 Copies Sold. Here's the pain, right? The blank page and that blinking cursor of death. And then here's the promise, right? 10,000 copies sold, and it's the proven path. So there's kind of some social proof in there. So I've got pain and promise right in the hook of the book. You need to get super clear on that. And then the price, pretty straightforward if you're selling books. A little bit more in depth, obviously, if you've got a business on the back end. So that's price based on value. We'll get into that later. So those are the 4 Ps. I want you to first get clear on those 4 Ps. Then we move into the framework I call the MORE writing method. MORE is an acronym. It stands for mind map, outline, rough draft, editing. So mind map, that's the best place to start. Brain dump all the ideas that you have around the topic for this book. Then use that mind map to create an outline. That's going to make the writing process so much easier. Then use that outline to write your rough draft. Then you can move through the editing process and you're most of the way there. Simple framework, that's going to help you write a better book. My kind of thought process around this is give away all of your best stuff for free and people will pay you to tell it to them again. All right, so don't hold back. But the book is strategies, and then if they work with you, it's tactics. All right, we'll talk about that in a little bit with kind of this value ladder concept. Maybe you've heard of that. But once you write a great book, you need to align the book with CTAs or calls to action that turn people from readers into subscribers or from readers into buyers. So what that means is you've got opt-ins or value giveaways throughout the book. All right, so the way that I like to do this, pretty straightforward, is at the very beginning of the book. I'm giving away the audiobook for free. I'm giving away a video training for free. This is one of my highest converting webinars. This is obviously the audiobook itself. This generates hundreds, if not thousands of leads a month for me and for my business. And I'm leading with value, right? Because people know I'd have to spend $20 on this audiobook. Chandler's giving it away for free. I kind of like this guy. Right? But then what I'll also do is right in the very front, I'll just say, hey, you want our help with this? Like we can help you with this at selfpublishing.com. Book a call with my team. Let's create a plan, right? So you're helping bridge the gap from browser or reader to buyer. What I also recommend is at the end of every chapter, you do kind of a call to action or at least the end of a few chapters and then link to some sort of free training, some sort of quiz or assessment, webinar, whatever the thing is of value that solves a problem beyond the book for your target customer. We're looking for natural, non-spammy, easy ways to ascend them. So you write a great book, you include call to actions in that book, and then watch your business grow like crazy, right? Here's an example I love. This is David McKay. He signed up to work with us. He actually wrote and published 2 books within 90 days, which is crazy. I think that's still the record. But he has kind of more of a brick and mortar photography business, right? So he used those books as a feed in to the business. He emailed me the other day. He said, hey, Chandler, it's been a year since I signed up with you guys. The books have brought in over $10,000 in royalties so far. That's solid. But really the powerful thing beyond that was he says those books have already generated over $45,000 in business directly from people who found my business because of the book. He says those 2 books are bringing in about 30 to 40 leads per week for his business. Well, as an entrepreneur, you know what you could probably do with 30 or 40 leads a week, right? And these aren't just, I'm not just paying for leads. In a lot of cases, they're either free leads or I'm getting paid to get those leads because they're buying the book. And they're the best leads. My sales team loves hopping on the phone with people who have read the book because they already know our methodology. I call a book a silent salesman, right? This book has already done all the selling for us. By the time someone hops on a call, they're ready to do business with you, right? I was talking on the phone with one of our clients the other day. He said, Chandler, it worked. I published this book. Somebody who doesn't read books read it on their vacation in 2 days. He said they booked a call with me. On that call, I signed up a $40,000 customer on the spot. They were already sold because they read the book, right? So this works. If you write a great book, it's going to help people ascend into paying customers. That's really a perfect segue into part 3, which is using the book to get your first or your next 50 customers. I call this the 6-figure launch. So really, again, begin with the end in mind. I'm thinking, how do I launch a book in a way that generates 6 figures in customers for the business? This is how I did it. So I published a couple books early on in my career. I used what I learned. I started learning a ton on marketing and all that stuff. I had a mentor who said, you got to become friends with Sam. I said, who's Sam? Why do I need to know him? He said, well, Sam is sales and marketing. He said, you got to learn sales and marketing. And so I started learning all this stuff. I used what I learned to launch another book. This book's called Book Launch, and I used that book to launch a business. Now, in the first 55 days, the book brought in over 3,300 leads and $92,000 in sales for the business. So like right there in terms of 6-figure launch. Not quite, but it's pretty dang close. But over the next year, right, that book brought in all sorts of results for my business. It helped me land on Business Insider. We went from 0 to $1.32 million in sales over the next 12 months. And the best part is the book still brings in leads, still brings in sales to this day, right? So that's what I want to walk you through in this framework. And I want to, again, begin with the end in mind and just ask the simple question, how many customers do you want to get from this book, or at least from this book launch? Is that 5? Is that 10? Is that 50? What would constitute a 6-figure launch for you? And then we want to reverse engineer everything aligned with the business growth. This is important. Don't chase the red herring of book sales, of bestseller list, of all these things that really aren't the end goal. The end goal is to generate business, right? Well, you're going to get into this thing and you're going to think, squirrel, 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 like I need to chase all these things. Align the launch with growing the business. That's the most important thing. And everything that you do as part of the launch should align with that, right? And then you're going to use a framework that we call the launch triangle. All right, I'll kind of do a high-level overview, but the launch triangle is the 3 things that you need to do to launch successfully. You need a launch team, so a small group of people who support you or the topic of your book. You need to get reviews, as many reviews as possible, and then you need to do promotions, right? And there's this whole myriad of promotions, but that's high-level how you launch. And then you want to integrate the book into your value ladder. Right? Maybe you've heard of this concept, pretty popular concept, Russell Brunson and a bunch of other people. So the value ladder says that, there's kind of multiple rungs of this ladder of value and how you can provide value to customers. There's the teach me how to do it. That's your book. Okay. So you're starting with that. Then there's the show me how to do it. So that's people reading your book and saying, okay, you're legit. I get it. Show me how to do it. I'm willing to pay for a course, a coaching program, whatever else. And then there's the highest rung of the ladder, which is do it for me. And some people will skip straight to that. They'll say, hey, can I just pay you to do it? Because I can't tell you how many times people will read a book and they'll say, hey, this is really good. Can I just pay you to do this for me? A great example of that is a guy named Hayden Crabtree. Okay. He wrote a book called Skip the Flip. So he had experience investing in real estate. You can kind of guess what this book's about. He wrote the draft of this book with our help. He's a customer at selfpublishing.com. He wrote it in a weekend over Thanksgiving break. So no excuses. All right. So he wrote this draft and then used it to launch a course. He said, all right, I taught the course strategies in the book. Now let's get tactical in this course. Over the next year or so, he sold over 80 units of that course from his book at $4,000 a piece. So that's about $320,000 in sales for his business from his books. If we're talking six-figure book launch, that's a multiple six-figure book launch. And then he's also, last I checked, doing about $3,000 to $5,000 a month in book royalties. So we use this book to open up all sorts of opportunities, getting on the Bigger Pockets podcast, like it just opened up all this business. And then there's a bunch of people who read the book and say, hey, this is really good. Now I know that it's intimidating. I don't want to do it myself. Can I just invest with you? And so he's used it to raise a ton of investment money on the back end with his firm. So that's the process. That's how you can use it for a six-figure launch. Now, the exciting part. How do we use this to create a seven-figure business card or maybe even multiple seven figures of revenue in your business? Well, I'll walk you through how to do it and then most importantly, how we're doing it. So what's actually working right now. You may have heard of this framework, but there's only 3 ways to grow a business. There's only 3. Now, if you're like me, you hear something like that and you automatically think, I want to find a 4th. I promise there's only 3, okay? So you can either get more customers, you can increase the average order value or the amount that they pay to work with you, so kind of your transaction size, if you will, or you can increase your lifetime value. So are you getting repeat business? Are they referring you more business? Like maximizing the lifetime value on the back end. And so those are the only 3 ways. So my first thought and kind of exercise for you is how do I use this book to integrate into one or multiple of those ways? So the book to help me get more customers, to help me charge more, or to help me bring back business that I used to work with that maybe hasn't worked with me in a while, or maybe to grease the wheels of referrals, all that stuff. So I'll walk you through kind of the framework of how I think about it. A book is going to specifically grow your business in these 3 buckets. Okay. It's going to help you get more leads, more sales, and more referrals. More leads, more sales, more referrals. So more leads, these are people who hear about your business because of your book. This is a very popular thing, right? If you think about Alex Hormozy, a bunch of people wouldn't know about acquisition.com if it wasn't for his books. Dan Martell, they wouldn't know about the business without the book. Tony Robbins, I could just go down the line. Mel Robbins, so many people, right? So the book helps you discover the business because it adds value. And so this is more people hearing about your business because of your book. Then more sales. So this is turning more of the people who already know about you into paying customers. So what I like to do, and I'll talk about this in a second, use the book all throughout your sales funnel or sales process. More people are going to buy. And then the third bucket is using the book to get more referrals. So give a copy or multiple copies of your book to every new prospect or customer. We were teaching a workshop one time, and we just had someone give books and reach out to their past customers, and they did 6 figures from that prem out. All right, so there's a lot of gold already in front of you that the book can grease the wheels of those conversations. You say, hey, I'm going to give you 2 copies of this book, one for you, one for someone you know who needs our help. Now, all of a sudden, you're getting a lot more referrals from your existing or past customers. So those are the kind of the 3 buckets. And once you've installed that in your business, it's time to integrate the book everywhere. Like before and after sales calls, in your paid ads, in your cold outreach, in your lead magnets, in your podcast tours, if you're doing them, in your business, when you're training employees, onboarding customers. Besides just the revenue amount, this is going to give you massive leverage all over your business. All right. Now I want to walk you through our $7 million a year blueprint. So this is exactly how this book right here has brought in over $7 million in sales in the last year. Okay, there's 3 buckets of how we're using this. Number 1 is unlimited free leads. So we give away this book everywhere. I recommend that you do the same. We give away the audiobook. We give away the digital copy. If I'm going to speak in an event, we're giving away physical copies. People are showing up to our office. We're giving them physical copies. This is our business card. Okay. And I'm amazed at how many people they won't give away the book because they're like, oh, I worked so hard on this. Why would I give it away? Well, how much are you paying for leads? $10, $20, $50? What if instead you could give away a free digital version of your book or a physical version for $5 or $10? Right. And now they have that book. It's in their home. It's in their office. Every time they see it, they think of you. So that's bucket 1, unlimited free leads. Bucket 2 is I've used this book to build a $6 million a year speaking team. Okay, so we've got about 5 to 7 speakers on my team. They all go out and speak on the methodology in the book, right? And so as a result, we'll do about $50,000 to $100,000 per speaking gig because we show up, we speak, we give away a ton of copies of this book, and then people book a call with my team. They sign up to work with us. Right. And then the third step in this blueprint is we use the book to get more sales appointments and better close rates. Okay. I kind of already mentioned this earlier, but a lot more people are going to book a call with your team or with you specifically if you're the one doing the sales calls once they read the book. So grease the wheels of your sales process by integrating the book into it. And then you're not only going to get more sales appointments like we do, but the close rate on those sales appointments is going to be way higher because by the time they show up to the sales call, well, you're an authority. Even if they didn't read the book, you've already got elevated status in the mind of your prospects and soon to be customers. So that's our blueprint. That's what's working for us. Now I want to recap what we talked about so far, and we got a few more things to cover. So we talked about 4 things today. We talked about coming up with your 7-figure idea, writing a great book that converts, using that book for a 6-figure launch or to get your first or next 50 customers. And then how do you integrate it to become a 7-figure business card in your business? Now, the question I get asked all the time at this point is, Chandler, will this work for me and where I'm at? Or, hey, I'm super busy. I've got this business or this job, all these kids. Like, can you just help me implement this stuff? And the answer to both of those questions is yes. This is exactly why I created selfpublishing.com. And this is exactly why we're creating the future of the publishing industry. So selfpublishing.com, if you haven't heard of us, we're an online education and service company. We help people write books that grow their business. Now, I like to say, what is it? It's kind of like a mix between Indiana Jones and Jillian Michaels. All right, so Indiana Jones, we're going to blaze the trail. Writing a book is hard. There's a reason most people don't do it. And then even still, there's a reason why a lot of people who do it, it does nothing for their business because they don't have the right path to follow. That's where we come in, okay? So we're going to save you hundreds of hours in the process and thousands of dollars in the process. And then Jillian Michaels, we're going to hold you accountable to do the work, okay? Again, it's a hard process, but it can actually be pretty simple if you have a process to follow and some accountability. So that's where we come in. More practically, what this looks like is it's going to start with a one-on-one consultation with someone on my team. Okay. So we're going to sit down, map out all your goals, map out a plan, and we're going to customize a solution for you, your book, and your business. And then we're going to pair you up with a coach who's going to work with you one-on-one throughout the process. You'll have access to hundreds of group coaching calls over the next year as we work together. There's custom curriculum, all that stuff. And then this is really fun. There's kind of this final mile of publishing. This is stuff that whether you publish with us or someone else, you got to do it. It's the book cover, it's the layout, it's the formatting, it's the distribution, it's the ISBN. I won't bore you with all the details because it's really boring. It's really complicated. You got to hire 17 different people. You're like a part-time project manager. So we just do all that stuff for you. All right. And the best part is you keep all the rights and you keep all the royalties. So we do the final mile of publishing for you. So the next step is if you feel like, hey, this video has been helpful, this has been a good use of 30 minutes or so of my time, then the next step is to book a call with my team. We've set aside time over the next 48 hours or so for you to speak with an expert and create a custom plan for your book. All right. So you're going to book a call in just a second. It'll be about 45 minutes. On that call, we're going to talk about your goals for your book, your challenges with your book, and we're going to create next steps and start creating a plan. Now, I'm going to make a bold promise to you and say that this call is going to be the best 45 minutes you've ever spent on your book. If you feel like this video is helpful, this call is going to be even more helpful. And the best part is the cost of this phone call is free. I've covered the cost for you. All you have to do is book a call and then show up for that call. Now, as a result of this, spots are extremely limited. Okay, so please only book a call if you're serious about this book, if it's a priority for you, and if you're serious about investing time, money, and energy into the success of this book. All right, if that's you, I want you to go ahead and book a call with the team right now. There's a couple ways to get there. You can go to selfpublishing.com/book consultation. All right, selfpublishing.com/book consultation. You can go directly there to book a call with the team, or you can scroll below this video. There should be a little application. You can fill out the form, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can just click the link in the description. Okay, so it's right there. Click the link, head on over to the page, book a call with the team, and we're ready to help you get started with your book and use that book to grow your business. Now, why are we doing this? Why are we doing these calls and even this training? Well, I believe that books change lives. It's one of the single greatest things that I've ever done in my life. And I know that this call is going to be helpful for you, whether we work together or not. Okay. So obviously on this call, if you're a fit, if you qualify to work with us, we'll talk about what that looks like. So I want to be super upfront here. We're very picky about who we work with. So we have thousands of people apply to work with us every single month. We only accept a handful of folks into the program. All right. We've got about an 8% acceptance rate. Harvard's acceptance rate is about 5 to 6%. So you could say it's almost as hard to get into selfpublishing.com as it is to get into Harvard. And that's not hyperbole. That's just math, baby. But that's because we care about our authors, right? We want to make sure, hey, if we're working together, that you're going to be successful, right? Like Al Lyman here, this is probably one of the biggest, thickest books that we've ever created. We said, Al, we want you to be successful. Look at this thing. It's an incredible book. We worked tirelessly on this book, as did Al. That's the kind of commitment we want to bring to you if we're working together. All right. So if this is you, go ahead and book a call with the team. Again, you can go to selfpublishing.com/book consultation, or just fill out the form or click the link along with this video. Head to that page, fill out the form, book a call with the team. If you're watching this on YouTube, comment below, I booked a call. If you booked a call, would love to give you a shout out. And I'll walk you through this process real quick. It's super simple. Once you click that link, it's going to take you to a page that looks kind of like this. All right, there's an application. So you're just going to answer a few questions on that application. And then there's a little orange button that says find a time. Okay. See that orange button once you fill out the application? Just press that button. And then what happens is it's going to pull up a calendar with some times. So what I want you to do is just click the time that's closest to now that works for you. Book a call with the team. That's it. Super simple. Once you do that, it's going to take you to a page that looks kind of like this. All right. There's a video from me on how to get the most out of that call. We've also hit some Easter eggs on that page, some bonus content, some bonus resources, all that stuff. So that's the confirmation page. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. We'd love to chat with you about your book. So go ahead and click the link, fill out the form below this video, book a call with the team. We can't wait to chat with you about your book and hopefully help you use that book to grow your business. All right. I know for some of you, you might be thinking the timing isn't right. Like, oh man, I don't know if I have time right now, or is the timing right? I'll tell you, being in this business for a decade, we've helped thousands of authors, and that is the biggest excuse I see people make. There's never going to be a perfect time to write your book. So many people, they say, hey, maybe next year, maybe someday, and maybe someday or maybe next year becomes maybe never. And they just never get the book done. Now, this is going to be a short-term sacrifice to create a long-term asset in your business, right? This is Austin Netzley. He worked with us on this book called The 2-Week Vacation Test. Great example, right? If you want to take a 2-week vacation in your business, well, you need assets like a book running constantly. That's what he did. He uses this book to grow his business, right? Here's another example with Elisa DiLorenzo and her husband, Tony. So they've got a marriage counseling business and speaking business and all that stuff. They'd written multiple books before. So if you're thinking, hey, I've done this before, do I really need your help? They had published multiple books. They decided to work with us. We helped them write and publish this book. It's an awesome book, by the way. The 6 Pillars of Intimacy. Their business exploded. They've already sold over 60,000 copies of this book. They've got a booked out speaking calendar. They're doing marriage retreats. They're generating all sorts of business from the book. This book was more successful than all of the books that they published previously. Another one of my favorite examples is with Lisa. Okay, Lisa wrote this book. She's one of our authors. She doubled her revenue for the business in less than a year from this book. All right, I could pull so many others. This is Jillian Perkins. Maybe you've seen her videos on YouTube. She sold a ton of books, grew a channel with over 200,000 subscribers, like doing all sorts of fun stuff on the back of the book. There's another fun example with Ayodeji. So this guy has written multiple books. He makes a ton of money off of Medium. So he sold over 20,000 copies of his 3 books. He's making a ton of money on Medium, getting paid for his writing, growing a whole business off of the back end. If I brought all of the books we published over the last decade into this room, you would not see me. This desk would be full. This room would be full. We've done this a bunch of times. We know that we can help you grow your business using a book. So I hope you found this video helpful. That's the framework. All right. This isn't just a theory video. This isn't some guru on the internet talking about book publishing. This is a practitioner's approach to writing a book that grows your business. I hope you loved the video. I hope that we get to talk to you real soon. Book a call with the team. Let's get that book done.